Well, hello, folks. I'm pleased to announce latest on White House, latest by President Donald J. Trump, the White House access, full global access to any individual who wishes to have instant access to the White House, latest breaking by the leaders of the free world, currently most open and communicative president ever in the history of America. Elites are upset, crazy news media going cuckoo over your compromised data. Did you know they can locate your area? Well, that's every app in the world that I've ever known. And currently, Canada China's deal, where China gets to download all your information at will in marketing, internet, and much more, especially if you buy a Chinese EV. But don't worry, that's okay. Don't expect the Privy Council of Canada, your Prime Minister, to roll out any of their secret meeting apps. We couldn't have that. No, siree, Bob, because Canadians don't matter. And all of that is done in secret, largely against Canadians. Don't show the world your autocracy. Keep it quiet. Well, I endorse Donald J. Trump's The White House app that's available on Google and Apple. Before this video, I posted that for any friends and followers who want to see it. I recommend you do that as it finds you every 4.5 minutes. That's great for Canada, the 51st staters. That's a beautiful thing. That's White House 911. I definitely, first thing I did is download that after Donald J. Trump's speech, where now presidents will be able to deliver to not only all Americans at will at the individual level, the president can speak to all of you, but the global community and world as well too. And then you can start measuring your government against that of the United States. Who would you rather have? A government that speaks to you directly day after day, or a government that does secret meetings, largely without any viewership of you, largely against everything of your limited democracy? Yeah, in Canada, Parliament doesn't matter because there's a parliamentary override, the executive authority to legislate called the Privy Council, orders in council. And they create law at will, they change your legislation at will. All privy councils can open up any legislation after it's enacted and change it at will. If you haven't noticed, Mark Carney's been moving to the old world order British system largely faster than UK's getting rid of it. Yeah, he's double downing on going back to that. Very communist, very centralized in the thinking and central powers of the very few over the vast many. The illusion of democracy. Many bills in Canada are opposite to that which America does, as America goes more democratic, more open, more accessible to the people. The Canadian government gets less and less accessible to the people, as well as keeps the world less and less accessible to you. If you haven't seen all the massive banning of foreign news and domestic news and all of it, you haven't been paying attention. Soon, thoughts related to religion, thoughts and expression, free speech are going to be gone in Canada. They're already extremely limited in the name of the crown and in their protection. Canadians can't figure that out. But here you have a president who's been accused of so many things, but yet he's becoming the most transparent leader in the entire world, available to all peoples of the world and absolutely every American. The elite right away panicking, oh, he's trying to download your information like every other app in the world, right? That somehow the president and the White House should be different, right? I don't think so. No, I'm fully engaged in that. I tell every Canada 51st stater, download one of those apps that suits you, whether it be Android or Apple. If you can access that and download that, you really should. I have. Doesn't take up much space, and I don't mind the White House having access to my location all over Canada at any given time. That really doesn't bother me at all. In fact, that gives me a large sense of security. It really does. So I'm good, and I recommend all 51st staters do the same. It only benefits us. It doesn't inhibit us in any way, and it doesn't scare me in any way. If you're scared of the White House, but not scared of the Canadian regime governments, wow, I don't know what to tell you, because you hand them over a tremendous amount of authority and oversight over you and your supposed charter rights, where they've now basically erased most of them with just the latest 4 pieces of legislation by the Carney government, supported by all parties. Folks, I don't know what to tell you. You have an appointed Senate sworn to the Prime Minister. Whether they're conservative or liberal, people say, oh, most of them are from Pierre Elliott Trudeau. Most of them are from Justin Trudeau. Most of them... Doesn't matter. They're appointed. You're missing the point. The entire Senate, which is half of your legislative body, is not for you, the people. It's for whomever's prime minister to overstep the legislative body. So think about this. You elect MPs. They draft bills that are bounced off Senate, who gets to make all the changes according to what the Privy Council and the Prime Minister want, specifically the Prime Minister. And after they've had all the slices and dices, meaning the original proposed legislation, by the end of its 6-time rewrites, doesn't look ever anything like what originally is and was, or its intent was. It's now the intent of the Prime Minister. And just in case, because the public's very familiar with the topic at hand, and it's really, really hard for the Prime Minister to win everything they wanted, they just let the legislation get passed anyway to keep the people quiet. And then a few months later, under Privy Council with executive override, opens up that legislation and starts rewriting it, and then publishes an order in council. And Canadians walk around going, I'm an elbows up Canadian. They don't realize legislations they've been under for sometimes 30, 40 years have been rewritten by prime ministers and their Privy Council upwards of 10, 15 times, until the legislation, although in name says something, clearly in all the amendments means the opposite legally. Yeah. And if you didn't know, there's a Privy Cabinet with an even stronger power in the provinces, where they don't even have to disclose through just the stamping of Lieutenant Governor. And they rewrite constantly by the day. Anytime democracy didn't work out or legislation isn't working the way they wanted it to for them, and it's working too well for the people, and there's court cases to document that, they just change the legislation. That way now the court has to rule on new precedents, erasing your common law. Because what is common law? Based on precedent of laws enacted. If you change the law enacted, the precedent no longer serves its purpose. Everything about Canada is a fraud. We are a fused judicial, legislative branches of government, fused with your ultimate executive in their crown powers, divided between prime minister and premiers. None of them work for any of you. They work for their pocketbooks. That's how it works. That's my video. If you're for Canada, the 51st state, go download the app. That is a beautiful thing. I endorse it 100%. I am very okay with the White House knowing my location all through Canada, the United States at any given time. I'm okay with that. I'm an open book. If people haven't noticed, I use my real name. I really am who I am. I have no cowardice. I'm not a coward. I do what I do. I stay the course. Lots of lunatics coming forward. Lots of bum hurts. That's great. Go ahead. I know it's falling off. These are the waves I go through routinely in Canada when people can't accept the truth. When they can't accept the world for what it is, the world changing positively, well, Canada remains negatively enshrined, negatively going against the grain. You're going to see it in the months ahead. This is an epic year for lots of regions in Canada and absolutely for Canada in U.S. relations. This is going to be an epic, upsetting year. And unfortunately, while all these people are distracted in their made in Canada solutions that are no solutions at all and never were ever intended to be and aren't what people think they are, they're going to find out the hard way. And unfortunately, I can tell this to all my loyal Canada 51st staters, it's going to be detrimental to all of us. And it's very sad. It's very sad that a mass majority of institutionalized don't realize that they're the reasons we're going through this. And we're going to continue to go through it. Don't expect any transparent governance in Canada where they're going to have apps like that. You're barely allowed to share and watch news content in this country. You're losing freedom of expression, freedom of speech. If you haven't noticed, absolutely since COVID and just ramping up at an incredible pace, both provincially, which was actually worse than the federal government, but the federal government too. And now we're watching massive come forward because Canada has to force its will by any mode, means necessary. Just like both federally and provincially, they tax and debt load you by any mode, means necessary to serve themselves. If you didn't know, that's constitutionally numero 1 in the Canadian Constitutional Acts under Section 91, powers of the federal government. That's the first power absolute of the federal government. And in Section 92, powers of the provinces and territories, that too is the first clause, an absolute clause of Section 92 for them in provincial and territorial powers. To tax and debt load you all by any mode, means necessary for them and their welfare, and of course, for the greatness of the British Empire. Wow, you've got to be a real loon to support anything like that, and blindly, as a subject who's not even recognized anywhere at all, really, in your Constitution, referenced in an amendment called 1982, but clearly before 1982, as it's packed in there as another edition. You read Section 33 that tells you they don't have to honor any of that, and they're subject to a veto. Just like the UNSC veto, all federal and provincial powers, which is Prime Minister and Premier, have that veto over all of your rights, whether it be aboriginal or subject. And if you ever want to know the truth of this, you should open up the Executive Powers Act of your province and territory. They go through it in extreme truth. They tell you, you are subjects, you're ours, you don't matter, we matter, you don't. This is the executive power of us over you. These are a pile of the amendments inside the Constitutional Acts of Canada, of every province and territory, making them even more autocratic than your federal government, even though that's hard to believe. But it's true. You've never seen a crummier, worse regional constitution than the constitutions of all 10 provinces and 3 territories. That's where you get into what you are. Slaves and savages. And if you don't get that, and you don't get that you have zero authority in any meaningful way except to elect your next dictator, I don't know what to tell you. It's clearly laid out in every single province, whether they be the first founding four or all the additions since. They're all the same, with a few extra powers of the executive for Quebec and Ontario. Differences. But at the end of the day, all Canadians are nothing but slaves and savages, absolutely enshrined in every provincial and territorial document. They back up what the federal constitution alludes to. And because you're an amendment or a primary creation of that document, it's absolute. Can't be mistaken for anything else if you have the courage to read it, but many don't. Folks, that's my second video today. Actually, I think it's third, because after work I did that other one. They're all explosive. There's a ton of information for people there. None of them are going viral or getting shared in any capacity because too many Canadians. This is shockwave overload, especially for my conservative base. No, it's not true. I love my crown. You're a liar. And even separatists. No, we're going to get independence because we love our crown, and we're going to follow the crown procedure that we say we want to get rid of. So you're going to follow the crown procedure and become an affront to international law, and every only successful majority of countries that gained independence, 142 since 1945, that actually followed international law. Somehow you, as an extreme minority, are going to do something that nobody else has ever done or can get done, and had to go through the Allies, because that's the sure way enshrined in international law and proven worldwide since 1945. And if you're going to go that road that you're on, know that in 5,000 years, it's never worked. You had to resort to violence in the end. And guess what? 999 times out of 1,000, it fails. There's only one country in the entire world history of 5,000 years that was able to do for and by the people, and that's the United States of America. And that was done through absolute revolution, massive scale revolution, as known as the War of Independence, the Revolutionary War of America, completed in 1776. I don't know what to tell you. You can't go back anywhere in history, world human history of real society and governments, and find a successful example other than the United States of America that is leading the world as the free world. And since their ascension in 45 as a superpower, I mean, they're not alone. I do give kudos to the Soviet Union in a lot of respects too, but it's those allies led by we the people of the United States that saw more countries created, decolonized, given full recognition than any ever period prior to it for 5,000 years. The globe we have today wouldn't exist if it was not for the superpower, the United States of America, nearly 90% of the time. And if you doubt this, we the people, that's all you have to look at every constitution. You don't have to take my word for it, but at least do your due diligence to read every single introduction to every country's highest laws of the land, and look up who is the first to create we the people. And you know it's USA. If you want to get real technical, It's Massachusetts, the state of Massachusetts, one of the 13 colonies of British North America. They did all of them the impossible. They did it. It's never been done in 5,000 years. And more than that, that has been the example for a mass majority of the decolonized world today since 1945. A vast majority of all the maps of all the recognized countries in the world today on the globe. 142 more. Many, many times in much shorter period of time than the whole world history. That is phenomenal, fast movement. But you Canada and Canadians, I don't want to be a we the people. I want to be a slave or a savage defined in class structure under a pyramid. I get called a Mason for my hand gestures. I don't read teleprompters. It's all up here. Hands. I work with my hands every day of my life. People can say it's spectrum or whatever you want to say. Maybe it is. I don't know. I frankly don't give a shit. But I'm no Freemason. And this is the latest attack people have from my hand gestures. I'm the only guy out there on social media who can bounce so much information all from up here. Look, no teleprompter, everybody. I can go like this and I can keep going and going and going, go through all kinds of history, all kinds of legal precedent, and I don't need a teleprompter. I don't. I go through it as it really is, and everything I say is easily corroborated. A simple search and go, wow, that guy just mashed a pile of information I've never heard before, and it's absolutely backed up 100%. It's all up here. I don't BS. When you learn, as I did about 8 years ago, to transition away from the Canadian system of compulsive lying, guess what you find? Guess what you find? It's very easy to give live speeches. It's easy to get up in public on a pulpit in front of thousands, even many thousands of people, which I've done, and just go like this and let it all flow. And yes, I use my hands. Unless I have a podium, then I'll grab it and hold it. But honestly, when I let my hands flow, I can rhythm myself. I can keep the flow going. That's for me. To each their own. I don't know. I'm not a teleprompter guy. I don't need that. When I do news interviews, I don't need the questions pre-rolled out to me so I can practice for 2 hours or 48 hours so I can come up with a bunch of lies, read a script and memorize it, and then stress out like all your loser Canadian politicians do. That their only real gift is that gift. How good of a liar are you? And that's why they go, right? Because they're tripping up. Because it's actually very hard to lie. It's extremely hard to lie. When you have to memorize somebody else's baloney and you know it's a lie, that's really difficult. It's actually extremely difficult. 8 years ago, I stopped doing that. I stopped playing the game, being sensitive. Well, I'll withhold this. No, I should say this instead, even though I know it's not really accurate. And I used to try to do that. I'd try to appease conservatives. I'd try to appease the political nature. But then, you know what? Coming out of prison, I said, you know what? From now on, everything I do is going to be absolutely truth and absolute nothing but the truth. And that's what I do. And that brings me close to the Creator, God, whatever you want to imagine that to be for yourselves. I have my version that's for me because I'm an individual with the right to my government and right to my church and right to my state that should be for me and what I bring forward just the same as all of you. That is the mark of a good country. That's the United States of America, and that's the only path I see truly effectual for Canada going forward. And there are many, many reasons I've articulated many, many times as to why. Obviously, economic is number one. trade, individuality, respect for our differences, but having goals of 100% free trade, which will never, ever, ever be Canada. It's not constitutionally possible. It can't be, according to the highest laws of your land that are virtually unamendable. And it's designed that way so it can never be changed, to keep you all hating and you all continuing on. Albertans going through independence through the Clarity Act process, the Made in Canada way, will never see independence. Sure, they may see by May 2nd the signature drive completed. We'll see those numbers. It's going to be a big fat I told you so. We know because due dates have come and gone. They certainly don't have the mass majority Alberta Forever Canada got, which should terrify Albertans, but it doesn't, because they don't want to live in reality, whether they're separatists, far-right conservatives, far-left liberals, dippers, it don't matter. They all live in the same institutionalized reality that I live in a lie, I promote the lies, I lie to myself, and the sickest part, the part that gets most Americans that they can't stand about Canadians, this is a spectrum thing too, right across their left and right, because they're down here at we the people and you're up here at my master, my crown. What they can't stand is that you can't distinguish attacks from your government on your children as detrimental. They have no use or respect for you. That is a majority statement I can clearly view from Americans on many, many platforms, especially just looking at Alberta 51st State Movement. I can see those Americans in plenty commenting on that, and those things jump out at you as like, this bodes well for Canadians. This bodes, or not well, sorry, this bodes dire for Canadians. This bodes very, very badly for any momentum forward, at least with the American people. And that will change presidents. May not change Donald J. Trump, God bless him, but other presidents, that most certainly will affect other presidents viewing 51st State. It will move them. And if you don't believe that, just go look at the history of statehood and how long some states took to get through the process and get admitted. Many decades, some of them. Many decades. It averages 13 years, to be honest. The average is 13 years, but it's been as high as 85 years. Think about that. 85 years. Can you imagine a crumbled Arctic Canada? 85 years of pain? Venezuela just went through 2.5 decades. But Canada's special, right? It's totally different. Totally different, right? Those are Venezuelans. Those are filthy Latinos, right? We're the superior crown Canadian. Nothing like those colonial Spanish from the Spanish Empire institutionalization, right? It's totally different. It's all race and cultural based, right? We're the superior Oxford. They're the filthy Spanish Empire. We're the superior British Empire. Wow. Wow. When Americans look at that and they realize that, not good. Folks, that's my video. Share, share, share. Get it out there. Very important for 51st Staters. My recommendation is download that app. That's a great thing for you. A terrific thing for you. I've got nothing to hide or fear but my own government here in Canada. I don't know about all you, but that's my biggest threat. Not only the government of Canada, but all the provincial crown governments too, because they stand to lose just as much, if not more, than their federal counterparts. Dangerous all around. I, for one, endorse this app. I'm running it right now. I love it, and I'm going to keep it forevermore. I love being updated, which White House is going live right now, maybe as I'm giving this video. That's it. That's my video. God bless. Share, share, share. Get it out there. Bye now.